Hey Clay, what's going on? I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22.
Yeah, in today's episode we talk about anime. Hope you enjoy it.
See ya.
So hey guys, welcome back to, podcast. Um, if you watched last episode, towards the end, you know what this episode is. And if it's not apparent, this is the anime episode.
That is.
At least primarily. I don't know if we'll talk about it the entire time.
We will probably go off onto something else, but for at least
we'll see.
Start of it, yeah. Because I had a couple people who were like, dude, I had no idea what you were talking about, like at the end of last episode.
Right.
I was like, just bear with us.
So I feel like this will probably... Go ahead.
We promised ourselves that we wouldn't do this until we were, I think, at least 20 in. Just because I just don't think, to be quietly. All right, guys, that was a great podcast.
See you guys later. Roll it.
Welcome to the Brotanical Garden. To ensure nourishment to the saplings, make sure you spread your seed.
To be quite frank, I don't think many people are going to be super initially grabbed by like what we're going to talk about, but hopefully after you hear what we got to say, I mean,
Yeah, I feel like this would probably be more of a persuasive type of discussion more than, and it's not like you have to watch anime or you're a loser. I mean, stereotypically it's been the opposite for most.
If you watch anime, you're a loser.
You're a loser,
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So maybe this will be just like a persuasive kind of conversation to kind of maybe open your eyes a little bit, or like be more, I wouldn't say accepting, but like more willing to maybe try one out.
Yeah, and the coolest thing though, I think, is it's like when I started watching it, I kind of was totally trying to be like closet anime guy because it just sounded kind of like a weird thing to be into. Like you kind of feel like a nerd. I secretly play like Magic the Gathering. Like you don't say that to any of your coworkers, right? It's the same thing as anime.
Right.
You don't say that you like watching it, But nowadays, I feel
that was like back then.
I feel like 2022 and moving forward.
It's 2023, by the way.
I know. I'm just saying, like up until midway through last year, I feel like I don't know if it was like you were like had mentioned like previously before this podcast, if it was through streamers or just through like social media influencers, but I feel like it's sort of become like the cool thing to watch, like the hipster.
It's been like the past 2 years.
You think?
Past 2 years, it's kind of grown and grown. I feel like at least the past probably 2 or 3 years, and then I guess it's just exploded in just the media. I'm sorry, what is that? But I need to know what that little mini bottle is.
So shout out to my coworker Drew. He got me like a cool. He knows I like whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
He got me. So there's a local Omaha distillery that makes bourbon, whiskey, rye, and he got me a cool little sample pack. So there's like a single malt whiskey, a bourbon, there's a rye. So right now I have the Brickway rye. It's just a little mini bottle. You probably get like 2 to 3 pours out of it. This is the last one of everything he's given me. I'm about to just polish it off tonight, but
Polish her off.
Shout out to him, dude. They've been super solid. But anyway, continue.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So maybe we start like in like a flashback, like back in the day, like in our middle school, high school days.
I would say before we really started watching anime.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Like well
to be clear, we started watching like late 2019.
I would say a little over.
Up.
Is it late 2019?
Yeah, it's like
is
late
when you started, and then a couple months
when
after.
I started. and like a month later, I got you on board. And so it's like, what's funny is my high school had an anime club,
No way.
and it's in the yearbook. Yes, and if you look at who's in this club, it is exactly who you
Who you would
picture.
expect.
Yeah, like the stereotypical, like I would like the emo kids, or like they have the hair swooped over there. Oh, dude, I love
Yeah.
anime.
Yeah,
Anime is
yeah.
fucking sick, bro. It's like that, and then there's an ROTC kid in there. It just
He's throwing an ROTC.
yeah.
Couple
I love
school
anime.
shooters, couple weebs.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that crowd. But then,
Yeah.
but also like growing up, like on Nickelodeon or whatever, you had Avatar: The Last Airbender, not the
Yeah.
blue people. You had Avatar, and then Dragon Ball Z. I feel like was very popular.
That was before
was
my
always
time,
on.
I would say. I would say, because, okay, so really quick. So when maybe we touched on this before, but when I was a kid, I didn't have any sort of cable. I think we
Right.
talked about this with top 5 cartoon characters, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, so like whenever
So for me,
you
I
didn't have Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, nothing.
Damn.
Except for Saturday mornings from like 9 a.m. to noon.
You would
On-
what? Have cartoons?
Yeah, they were
Oh, I
available
see.
from channels 1 to 25. They were available on like 24 or something.
Nice.
So yeah, but maybe it was a little before my time. Was that one? But Avatar, to me, like the Last Airbender. I know there's a shitty movie that came out nobody liked, but
Really?
well, the real life one.
Yeah, the
I
blue
would-
people, right?
No, I'm sorry. So there was a live action Avatar: The Last Airbender that came out in the last 5 years. I don't know.
Mhm.
It might have been before that 5 years. I don't know. But a lot of people were upset. It's kind of like one of those things when people like read the Percy Jackson books and then the movie comes
I
out
did.
and they're like, which I did in one of my favorite books up until this day, which to be fair, I don't read books, but so I mean, don't ask me for a book preference because I'll tell you what I read in 5th grade. But I mean, it was kind of one of those things where people watch the Avatar Last Airbender series and they'll look at the live action movie and they'll be like, no, this was not it. Like this was
Right.
so off and just seemed under budget and things like that. But
Yeah,
for
it
me,
came out in 2010.
I was actually coerced
Cars?
by my hometown friends to give Avatar a shot. And so I watched the series, and I think that's kind of what sparked my interest in anime, because they don't actually consider Avatar an anime because it was made in America, and I think
Right. it's
anime
American.
is strictly Japanese cartoons, right? Is
Correct.
that-
Yeah.
So
That's like it's like their Family Guy, their SpongeBob. It's just cartoons to them, but it's called
Yeah.
anime, I guess.
and thankfully for us in America, almost every popular anime known right now has a version that is English actors and English actresses, voice actors and actresses that do a freaking amazing job. I'm just so happy because like there are some Netflix shows that are like in Spanish, like you have like that
Right.
heist show, you have
yeah.
the one about the elevator girls, fucking I don't know what it's called. But
I think
anyway,
it's called Elevator Girls.
but they have Netflix originals where they're good, but they can sometimes be annoying where it's like that's totally not her voice, and like the lips don't equate to what they're saying, and so it's hard to watch. But the beauty of it is it's all cartoons, so like when it's happening, you don't even realize that it doesn't ever seem like it's out of. You know
Out
what
of
I'm trying to
sync.
say? You know what I'm trying to say, Clay?
like, I mean, their mouths are just moving like this. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not trying to mimic the certain mouth
Actual
movements of
words. Yeah,
words.
yeah.
Right. And so it's never out of sync. So like, you're totally right.
And
And
there are a lot of people that from the US, the States, that are like, oh, you have to just watch the original Japanese and like just watch this. Dude, Clay and I have never been people who could get into just like reading the subtitles. And
No.
I think we are the first people to say, from how many animes we've watched that are completely in English, that if you want to go the route of watching like English dubbed animes, like there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You will fall in love
No.
with it just as much. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, the argument there is that there's more it's kind of like when wow.
Time out.
Flag on the play. All right, we're gonna bring it back in. When a Spanish announcer in like a soccer match or football, like when they score, you know how like they were way more enthusiastic than like an English announcer.
Yeah.
That's like the argument with the original Japanese.
Well, you can't say English announcer. You have to say like American announcer.
They're speaking English.
Because England, you got to like someone from the UK.
Right. I mean, it still does not compare to a Spanish
Yeah,
announcer.
yeah.
Not even
Yeah.
close. Like they say goal for like 36 seconds.
Right.
And so it's like that's the argument with animes and Japanese versus English. It's like, oh, there's so much more emotion and passion. It's like, well, no, it's still
No,
I think it's equally the same.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that argument, and they're like, "Oh, you got to watch this." For reference, for people that don't know, when we say subbed, so when an anime is, or any sort of not US of A cartoon is portrayed in a foreign accent, it's a subbed version. It's the original cut, but the dubbed version is the cut that would transfer to your language. So if I say subbed, that means usually Japanese, dubbed is English.
Yeah.
But they really what were we gonna say?
I thought it was called sub because you have to read the subtitles.
That's actually really dude.
Do
you think they did that on purpose?
I think that Americans are the ones that came up with subbed and dubbed.
That's a good point. But what I'm getting at is like they have a really extensive like grouping of really talented voice actors that will play the roles for some of these big name shows. And like we do see a little bit of crossover sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But that's almost even more fun. Like it's almost more fun cuz like, for instance,
it shows off their talent.
Yes, absolutely. It's like when Ryan Reynolds or like some of these like big name actors and actresses, they go from playing like some evil villain to some like super lighthearted comedy heartthrob. It just shows the talent that they have. Like, I don't know. There's several examples I could go through, but like it's just really impressive sometimes because it's almost fun, kind of picking out like, oh, that voice sounds familiar. Oh, I know who that is. That's
it's like, oh, is he this character in that show? Or it's like I recognize it, but I can't really put my finger on it.
Right. Exactly.
It's not like I know him. It's not like I know him by name, but there are a few that are like everywhere.
Yeah.
So, shoot, what was I gonna say? It was like our first. Anime.
So we were what we were talking about was early anime and like cartoons and Avatar. That's what we're talking about.
So I feel like, especially since it's grown more and more popular over the last few years, I think it's maybe not solely, but like a major part is that the animation has just gotten exponentially better.
Yeah.
Like if you look at like an anime, like even cartoons just in general, if you look how the animation was in say 2005 versus now, I mean that's almost 20 years, and of course it's going to be better, but it's now just so you could just watch a show that's just based on visual appeals. Like it doesn't even have to be the animation goes crazy.
So, and I think a good word for like I literally think that anime is like kind of trending right now. It's like the cool new thing, and a good reason, a good like kind of proof I have for that is, and I'm talking strictly from the guys here. I don't know about anything about girls, but I mean, okay, that's a whole other story. But like people that I would never expect to watch anime from like high school, or like people I used to know that were like, you know, seeing them and like them posting things or like little subtle things in their like pictures that has like an anime reference, like I would have never expected them to like be into it, and like now they're into it, so it makes me feel like I'm not really as like much of an outcast as far as that. You know what I mean? Like,
and like I don't know why that's a stigma though. Like, what is so bad about
here's
watching?
the thing. Yeah, no, here's the
Like-
thing. It's like people like
I think it just still stems from like back in the day, all the emo like quote unquote weird kids would watch anime.
I think
like,
a lot of people are influenced by people they look up to, and so I think like a lot of the times, like you see, like when we were kids, like we would play Call of Duty, and all of the big names were playing Call of Duty, and all of the friends were playing Call of Duty. So what do?
Right.
You buy the newest Call of Duty game, and I think nowadays it's kind of getting to the point where like you're looking at all these big streamers, and you know, like obviously the internet has like gotten huge in social media, and you see these YouTubers and stuff, and they're like, their names in video games are like these peculiar names, and you're like, what is that name? And like, oh, it turns out it's from an anime, and you're kind of advertising anime, and it kind of it brings people to the scene, and I think
and that's how I watched. That's how I even had the idea to watch our first anime. Was I was watching a YouTuber, and that was the topic that they were just talking about, and I was like, huh, what is this? Like, I wonder what this is. And so I watched the first like 3 or 4 episodes, and I was like, hey, Kev, I think you should get on this. Or maybe it was farther than that, but
yeah,
that it was just something. It was just random, you know. It's like in between shows, you know, like on Netflix or whatever. And I think that's another thing that's becoming more accessible, is why I think it may be becoming more popular. Because back then it wasn't like on like Netflix. There wasn't really streaming services back then.
no, there wasn't.
Everybody was watching it illegally online.
Yeah.
So that's where Crunchyroll is like the first. It's like a streaming service now, but it started as a website and would just pirate all these shows. And so, I mean,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So then now, like, it's all like Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus is acquiring all these titles. Like, it's becoming more accessible, which I think is why it's becoming more popular as well.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah. So another thing I was going to mention too is like, I think to a lot of first time watchers, it feel like, for me, I know it kind of felt like a very like low amount of commitment to check one out, because the episodes are 20 minutes long. I mean, like, you can get started in an anime and watch 2 or 3 episodes, and it would be the equivalent or under of like 1 episode for a lot of these other like NCIS and, you know, just generic shows you'd find. I don't know why that was my first thought. But just,
Why? You big NCIS fan?
no, honestly, I've never watched a single episode. I don't know why the fuck I just said that. But like, you know, like what you or fuck. You know what I mean? Like
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, yeah. So I was gonna try to say, even though I almost said Hunger Games, which is a movie. But
but even you could watch a few episodes instead of watching a movie.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's like a really low commitment thing to try to like see if you enjoy it. And I'm telling you what, these fuckers will hook you pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like they.
Yeah. So that's a good point, because there's a few that just right out the gate will just hook you and you are in. Like, you want to know what happens next.
Yeah.
Anime it's notorious for having cliffhangers, just like, I mean, a bunch of other shows. But the cliffhangers and like the development of story, you know, you really get drawn in and want to know how certain events end. And I'll say this, just because like we're trying to persuade you to at least check one out. If you don't want to, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to hurt my feelings. It's not going to break my
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah.
But if you are to check one out, like the very first episode, just keep this in mind. The intros are always in Japanese, regardless if the rest of the show is in English. Don't let that deter you, because they can be out there and just wild, just visually. There's just a lot going on, and it's just like Japanese screaming at you because it's usually a song. So don't let that deter you from being like, what am I watching? And then
It's
you just
just
click off.
It's like those damn Japanese game shows. You've ever seen those where like bouncing on their heads and like, dude, just the wildest shit. I feel like they get their kicks over there from things completely different to like how we get our like, you know,
it's
entertainment.
Two completely different cultures for sure.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
Maybe we can talk about a couple that we really like and not get super in depth, but just kind of
start name dropping.
Yeah, just give a little bit of a brief like synopsis if this is something that you're like, oh, I've been itching to like get into a new show, but I never would have expected it to be anime. Like that shit sounds stupid. Maybe the plot of the show, if you're into like that sort of thing, maybe it can, you know, have you
and just to preface though, we've seen a handful, like not even like scratching the surface of what all is out there, because there's over 12,000 like currently just completed and ongoing. But also I guess the genre that we have primarily watched is, I guess it's called the shonen or something. I don't really know what it means, but there's different genres, because there's also, I mean, there's romantic comedies, there's comedies, like just, you know, there's mysteries, there's all different genres, just like, you know, any other show. But primarily what we've watched is kind of like more adventure, I would say.
Adventure, action, violence.
Yeah,
and
adventure,
like,
action.
A super thing that like a super big thing that I want to like just kind of touch on is like, I think in America with like our mainstream big time shows that are coming out, we kind of always think of cartoons as something for children. Like we think of cartoons as something that you grew up on, like a child catered show.
Like and a SpongeBob or
exactly. And I think, and like there may be a couple exceptions with like Adult Swim and stuff with Cartoon Network and things like that.
Right. Family Guy and The Simpsons.
But I think in other countries, you know, specifically Japan is what we're talking about right now, they totally think of like their culture is just completely different, where they kind of cater shows to like not only children, but they have specific shows that are cartooned for adults and for people
that are like
with
rated R.
Yeah, like things for certain people with certain humors, things like super gory shit for people that like have a sick mind. Like they totally like, they don't think of cartoons as like age specific. They kind of, when they make their shows, because I mean I'm and you know Clay can probably attest to me, but like we have seen a few animes that are definitely like I would not recommend a child to watch. Like like things that like
I don't think any of them.
Tokyo Ghoul, like there are some that are like
Attack on Titan,
like deep and sick and just kind of twisted, and like I just think I don't want you to come, like I don't want anyone to because this is kind of how I came into it, thinking like I feel like a child. I'm watching a cartoon show right now. I feel like a child. But really, I think you need to get your mind, like I had to get my mind kind of off that to sort of keep looking into animes, because like you have to truly understand the culture difference, and like just that these shows are not catered to kids, and these are shows that
not even close.
These are shows that are catered to like my age group and like audiences
not
similar
saying that,
to
like,
me.
They definitely have those shows that are catered to kids.
Oh, absolutely.
But
I just think
I guess that's the difference between the U.S. and Japan is, you know, animation companies stop producing shows towards, you know, adults and young adults, and Japan just does it for all ages. Just
I
to
think
kind of summarize your point.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I just think that in America, it's been for so long that cartoons are for kids that these producers and things like that they just know what seems to work in America.
Hmm.
And so they just don't even try. They don't even try to like come out with a cartoon because they know it's not going to land. Because like
Well,
it's just a specific,
it's starting to become like they're starting to produce some that are like we're seeing
Yeah.
that now. Like Netflix has produced their own. Uh, there was another one, I think it's on Hulu or something that is they're starting to produce their own like here in the States.
What was
Like
that
they're
one
starting to make
really
their
cool animated series that was based off a video game that kind of has like a post-apocalyptic feel to it?
oh
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Arcane.
Arcane. I only got a couple episodes in, truthfully. I heard that was
There's only
amazing.
9.
I heard that
It
was
was really
amazing.
good.
Um,
And it's
but
just like stuff
yeah,
like that.
things like that. I think like it's kind of trending up, and I think that um, producers have kind of been afraid to do things like this up until now, and
Mhm.
it's kind of cool. Like I would be totally in. Like I'm definitely not someone who's set on like Japanese, made anime. I just think I've always as someone has done art, and I kind of like, I like to draw, I like to create characters and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
there's a whole other aspect of for me as like just animation and like putting together a piece of art that is made through tons and tons of like sketches and
Right.
who knows what they're doing now, but it's just like it's really cool to me. And I think a lot of people have a bad sort of mindset towards cartoons in America because I just think that they think like cartoon equals childish equals I shouldn't be watching this because I'm 25 or 26 or whatever you are.
Right.
I think
But
that idea should
anime
be kind of.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Finish it. Finish it.
I think that idea should be stripped away. That's all I was gonna say.
I agree. Because just anime in general, it's a different because it's animated and it's a cartoon essentially. Uh, they can't much like or unlike shows with actual people, you can't express emotion through facial expressions or mannerisms as easy. And so what anime does a lot and really well is using the voice to express emotion, because you can't have it's not as easy to portray emotion with an animated cartoon.
Yeah.
So just it really drives it really pushes it with all these voice actors, to go back on that point. But some of these shows are shorter. Like it's really the shorter shows you see like a character's development and the full circle of the story a lot quicker. But even in some of these longer shows, you really get to appreciate where somebody has started and finished. And I don't know why, but you get more. I get more attached to the characters in an anime rather than like a live action show. And so since we've started, it really makes me appreciate characters and development and even story, like the plot of regular shows and like even movies. It makes I feel like I judge characters and like the writing a lot harsher now than I did say like 5 years ago.
Here's another thing I was kind of just thinking of with you saying that is I think in order for a American company to achieve what anime does in the span of like some of these animes can be, not to like scare people away, but like some of these animes can be like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes. Like the budget, if it was like a live action, would just be like some of the stories they're able to tell in anime would be unachievable in a live action sort of setting because of how extensive and just how long some of these stories take. Like,
Well, essentially, anime is just a book coming to life. Because
yep,
what essentially it is a cartoon, or not a cartoon, a comic book almost, and they're taking each individual book and turning it into like an episode, or like one book may equal 10 episodes, or like depending on the events, it may equal like one or two.
yeah.
And so like it's insane, dude. The fact that the people that are illustrating and writing the story are doing it all by hand.
That's insane.
That's insane.
So like a really good example of that would be like, I don't know if most of the readers have watched or read
Readers?
when they were. I'm sorry, did I say readers?
Yeah.
You'll understand why I fucked up here in a second.
Okay.
Most of the viewers
Gotcha.
have probably read, like, because they were forced to, or because they were of that age. They've probably read the Lightning Thief, like Percy Jackson series. They've probably read the Harry Potter. They've probably read the Hunger Games.
Oh yeah, that was a big one.
And so like when you look at the movies and you get like, oh, that was a really good movie, but they missed out on so much emotion and like so many little details that made the book better.
Mm-hmm.
That just isn't a thing when it comes to like a lot of these like anime shows that we watch, because I think a lot of the times when you turn it live action, there becomes a budget that's in play, and like we can only afford to do a certain amount of these scenes, and it just ends up being a thing where
It's
people are like
a
they're
time
like
limit. Like you're
like
capped out at like 3 hours.
like the books were so much better because they captured these emotions and there were these specific scenes, and like this totally didn't happen in the books and it did in the movies. And it's almost like it's almost like the opposite as far as anime, like, because I don't know if anybody I don't know if anybody understands or knows about like manga, and I've never been a sort of a manga reader at all. But like you can kind of think it as an American comic book where you turn a page and it shows it depicts a picture where it's like bang, boom, and it's like somebody punching somebody, and the next page might say like, all right, we won, and then the next page, it's like that. Well, like it's the total opposite where like they can stretch this story to be as extensive as they want, and it's just like,
they can really paint the picture, like from that one page. They can really develop the whole scene, and make it entertaining. Bring it to life.
Yeah. So,
with all of that being said,
yeah, I don't know if
we're gonna run. Let's run some by them.
We're probably pushing you guys to your limit right now. But
let's see if we can persuade someone to check one out. We'll give some names of the shows and some synopsi, and is it? I don't know. What's the plural of synopsis?
I love it. We're just gonna run
synopsises. Yeah, so we'll just give you a little rundown of what the show's about. Try not to give away too much. Like I said, our watched animes are very few and far between as to what's out there.
Absolutely.
But I really enjoyed pretty much all of them. I don't think there's one that we've watched that I haven't liked.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give the floor to you here, and my first and my question to you is, if you were catering to an adult audience, to someone your age, maybe 20 to 40, what would be the first anime you would recommend to them? Give us a little bit of a plot as far as what happens, and then tell us why they would be kind of maybe intrigued to check it out. And okay. I really want to stress that it kind of like an adult sort of formatted, and it may be like
right.
Maybe you grew up on Transformers 3. You want a lot of action, adrenaline. Maybe you grew up on crime investigator scenes, and you want a little bit of that. Just pick one and then go with it.
There's two that come to mind. I would say one that it gets heavily recommended to people for their first anime is it's called Attack on Titan. It's really trendy these days. I would say that one because you get thrown into the story immediately. There's no like introduction to like, hey, this is the main character. This is his best friend. It is at the end of episode 1, you are in the story, you're locked in. So
Give us a little bit of a rundown.
So there's this
Without
dude,
giving away much.
How do you explain it without it giving it away? Okay, so there's this.
Here's the
No,
problem.
I got you.
Okay, you got it. Okay.
So there's this town, and this, I guess it's probably medieval age, kind of. Yeah,
Something
there's
like
no
that.
cars or anything. Yeah. Well, there's a, it seems medieval age kind of era. There's a town on this island that is surrounded by like 100-foot tall walls, and that's all they know. And it's called Attack on Titan because on this island there's these beasts called Titans who are just like 50-foot tall humans, or like giants almost, and they built these walls to protect their town from the giants, or the Titans, that is. And one day the Titans attacked. And I would also recommend that one because it is a more neutral anime than what you like. Neutral as in neutral colored. It's not like the super flamboyant hair or like the reactions. It has that
It's got a very American kind of feel to it.
It's much more serious. It's very dramatic. There's a little bit of there is a good bit of action that is good, but it is very dramatic and like mystery. There's a bunch of twists.
To the viewer,
I don't know. I would just recommend just watching 20 minutes of the first episode, and if you want to keep going, go for it. If you don't continue, I don't think anime's for you.
I agree and kind of disagree because
please add some more, because I feel like that's just a horrible way to.
No, I think you did a pretty good job. I think for that one, a big thing for me that was different from a lot of like other shows I've watched is when you start, like I think you did a really good job of saying like when you start the show, it really gets involved in the action. But as a viewer, you don't really understand what's going on immediately because it doesn't give you a lot of information. You just kind of see what's happening. It's definitely one of those where as a viewer, you're kind of like, it kind of makes you think like, what is going on here? And it's one of those where it gives you a lot of story and then afterwards gives you an answer of why that happened. A lot of the times in typical like shows that you'll watch or movies even, you kind of know what's going on before it happens. Whereas this one, it happens and you kind of feel like you're there. You feel like you're one of the people in that town where you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then only later on do you find out what happened and why things happened. It's really a thinker. There's a lot of like tragedy and sadness, but at the same time, there's a lot of like teamwork and like
it's very moving.
It's a moving show. I think that's a really good word for it. I
think
there's a lot of
it's very dramatic.
Very, very dramatic. I think that's a really good word.
A lot of emotion.
And when I first started watching it, I actually didn't get drawn in. I didn't get super hooked immediately. It was only till I kind of wrote it out a little bit and understood more about the story that I kind of started getting invested. Well, I just wanted to say that because like if that's the first one they watch, there is so many other styles out there that will cater to you. That's not a really good description of what like anime
it's
is.
Very that's probably
just
the most neutral, like least anime like anime show
I
would say that we've watched.
So I would say that so personally, what I started with was Avatar: The Last Airbender. I mentioned that.
No, it wasn't. That was your first?
That was my very first. Yeah, it's not even really an anime, but that was my first one before
You
Hunter x
watched
Hunter.
that before? Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dang.
So that is what I started with, but I will also say without a shadow of a doubt that it's not necessarily meant for adults. It's really catered to any age, honestly. There's nothing crazy that happens in that show where it's like, damn, I wouldn't want my kids to see that. Like it kind of is like it absolutely hooks you, but it's not something that I wouldn't be comfortable with like my kids watching. Like it whereas Attack on Titan is absolutely gruesome and it's suspenseful and it's tragic and like I would not want my kids to watch
not
that.
at all, ever.
So
all right, you got the floor. You know, like the one that you were telling me before that you were gonna explain it the exact same way you did.
Okay, so I know, for instance, Rachel has always been super invested into like researching like serial killers and mass murders and things like that. They kind of like it's really fascinating. It's obviously horrific and it's awful, but like when the Bundy series came out and like the
Jeffrey Dahmer,
all that Epstein stuff that was happening, and Jeffrey Dahmer.
I'm telling you, dude, these chicks love this true crime.
I'm telling you, man, they love it.
They love some NCIS. I'm telling you.
So like one of the ones that would absolutely cater to someone that's really into like the mystery, kind of investigation, sort of mass murder, got to stop the killer, would be Death Note. And that one actually kind of with our closer friends, that one kind of sparked sort of like the flame for them. I know they got
to watch it with me.
They got heavily into it, and it's totally one where you're always left kind of questioning what's going to happen. It's suspenseful, but basically to set the scene for you. So basically you can kind of treat, so there is, basically the devil or a group of evil creatures that basically decide when humans die. And that's kind of like the plot of the show. Instead of like dying naturally, like we always think happens, there are people up in the sky that decide, and that's the truth in the show. So they have these books that they have that are called Death Notes, which are these books, and basically
it's just a notebook.
It's a notebook, and they write your name. They write the person's name that's on Earth in that notebook, and then they die. So the plot of the
whoever's name's written in the book dies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe so.
Mm-hmm. So one day on Earth, one of the books, sounds like the Bengals are doing good. Rachel's saying, "Woo!"
Yeah, I just heard her.
So
that's funny.
In this show, on accident, one day a book gets dropped down from the high skies where these demons live, and one human, a kid, finds it and picks it up, and quickly realizes he's in college, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a young adult.
He's 18, 19.
He quickly realizes how to use the book and what it is, and he decides that he's going to use this book for good in his eyes, where he's going to kill off all of these people that in his eyes he sees as bad, murderers,
all the criminals,
thieves, criminals. And there's this investigator in his city, or just whatever. And this investigator has never has never done wrong on a case, has always solved all the cases he's on. He is the best of the best. And his case is to find out, because they figure out there's been like a series of killings, but they realize that these aren't just like, you know, because the kid is doing these killings in this death note for all the criminals. So they pick up on it, and they assign, the FBI or whatever assigns this case to this person. And ironically enough, the police chief of the area happens to be the dad of the kid who owns the death note. And so throughout this whole entire time, this kid is trying to kill off people and fulfill what he sees as justice. All the while, his dad has no idea, Tim. This super genius is trying to figure out who is killing, and it's just this really, really cool back and forth where you get several different narratives of all the different people, and it's really, really fun to watch. At a time in the show, the person who owns the death note is actually working on the case with
whoa, spoilers.
That's kind of a spoiler. They work together to try to figure out who it is,
and just continue to spoil.
It's just
keep going.
That's the only spoiler. I'm gonna just leave it there, but it just really is like kind of you're just wondering when he's gonna get caught, or if he's gonna kill the prime investigator, or if he's gonna kill his dad, or if he, you know, it's a
mental war. Like, it's such a mental battle between two very smart individuals it's like cat and mouse trying to, it's just eluding capture. It's very that show, and it's very short. It's only like 35 episodes,
and you got to think
of like 20
minutes. Yeah, so
they go by fast because you just always want to know what happens next.
Yeah.
So I have another one that maybe somebody might want to watch it. Now this one I would say it's called My Hero Academia. So if you are a Marvel enthusiast, you may actually enjoy this. Like if you are a diehard like Iron Man, Captain America, if you just love Marvel through and through,
superpowers.
This is a superhero world. So one day a kid was born with a superpower, and then it quickly spread throughout, and so then like 95% of the world, everybody had superpowers. And there was a small percentage of people who didn't. And one day this kid wants to be a superhero so bad, but he was born without powers. And until the, I guess the number one hero, so like the best hero on Earth, gifts him a superpower. And then he goes to school to train. It's like, you remember that movie Sky High? Back in the day?
Exactly. Yes.
It's
I love that movie. Yes.
That was a great movie. So the kid goes to high school for superheroes, and then the events take place. But yeah, if you're a big time superhero, that one has a very large amount of characters, which is always good because you may relate to another character more than the other. You may not find the main character to be your favorite. And so it's always cool. That one's very colorful and enjoyable to watch.
That one's really cool too, because it's always kind of like everyone really when I'm talking about Marvel here, because I'm a big Marvel guy too. Everyone really, really enjoys the first iteration of all of the movies per character, where they're discovering their powers. They don't realize they have them. It's like that Spider-Man thing where you're like, whoa, you shoot out the fucking web. It is exactly like that, where this kid has never had any sort of power before. He gets gifted it by the greatest superhero ever. And he's sort of kind of discovering what he can do and what he can't do. And alongside of that, all of his schoolmates in University of Superhero, startups, are also kind of discovering what they can do and what they can't do. And of course, you have the class rivalries, and you have You got Class 1A and Class 1B, and they're always head to head doing these challenges. But then
Dude,
you have
it's
some
such a good show.
real villains out there in the streets that are posing a really big threat on their town or the world or whatever it may be, and seeing these young students learn to kind of embrace their abilities and take on this greater evil. It's totally one of those, like, if you're big into like that superhero vibe, just like what you were saying,
It's such
totally
a
would
feel
cater.
good. It's a feel good show too.
Yeah.
It's just one that like you feel good about like whenever you watch it.
There's kind of something I can't explain in these sort of shows because it just wouldn't really make sense to many people, I don't think. But just like in these sort of shows, they do a really good job of kind of like stressing how powerful certain individuals are. Like I just remember and this might just be getting over the top here with like explaining kind of a bore, but I just remember this one. They're playing baseball in this show. I believe.
No, they're throwing the baseball.
Well, they're
In
just
which
throwing.
show?
They're just throwing it, or are they playing
In
baseball?
In My Hero?
My Hero. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just throwing it. Or did they play it too?
I'm not sure, but maybe they're just going off of
Threw it
maybe
for sure.
So in this particular scene, like this kid who was just gifted power by like the greatest man ever, so he was learning how to control his power because he had so much power that it would literally break his bones to use his full capabilities because his body just wasn't geared. It wasn't set up to be able to handle how much power he had with his ability. And so they were just doing throwing a baseball in this sort of like test your power sort of thing.
Yeah, it was like a physical fitness test almost.
Yeah, and this sort of thing I just never see in any sort of other show, and it's just like really, really like fun to watch. But he cannot figure out how to throw this ball with his power without just completely breaking his arm and his hand because he has so much power, but his body cannot control it. To where he literally only uses one finger to throw the ball, and it is by far faster than anyone in his class, but he ends up just breaking one. He just breaks one finger because all he used was the strength of that one finger to like
throw it like 2 miles or something.
Exactly. It's just like the amount of description they go into to portray like the scenes and just like the feelings of these shows are just crazy. That was one scene that just like, damn, that was super just a crazy.
Like, it's such a minimal task, but like the way they build it up and everything, it turns out to be like a feel good moment for him because like he wanted to prove that he can be a superhero, and that's what he wants to be, is just like the greatest hero ever. And so you really get to see like the drive and the passion, and like I said, it's again all through voice.
Wait,
Yep.
Okay, all right, we're recording. All right, so sorry, I just got back. Rachel wanted me to change the Bengals game from the living room to the to our bedroom.
Nice.
So that's fine.
Essential.
Yeah, we're totally not using any sort of like NFL streams, crack streams, anything like that.
No. It's on ESPN, right?
Which we fully have. Yeah, we have the Game Pass. We spend hundreds of dollars. So yeah, we're fine.
Yeah, you got DirecTV for your apartment.
Yeah. So anyway, I know we're pushing our limit, but there's one more thing, one more show I would like to just kind of throw out there as a really, really, really good kind of starter show. Because like I don't know about you, Clay, but for me, I was really big into like Transformers when I like Transformers 3. You know what I mean? Like
okay, yeah.
Marvel.
No, you and I both watched all the Transformers growing up.
Hell yeah, we did.
Yeah, they used to come out like every summer, and then you would visit that summer.
Just visit every summer, and we just go.
And it was a thing for like 3 years, and then now they're coming out with a new one. I think there's like 6 now.
Damn.
Yeah.
So
slacking.
for people that are super into, they don't care as much about the story. They don't care as much about like the character development. They mainly care, people that care about action and just
Mhm.
the way that action is portrayed and the super sick fighting scenes and things like that. I can recommend without a doubt a show for them, and that would be Demon Slayer. And so
That's. I thought you were gonna talk about like some show that has like these giant like machines fighting.
oh no, I'm just mainly talking about like the super cool fighting scenes where they
Mhm.
don't leave anything out. I mean, it's just a long ass, sometimes it's a episode, granted 20 minutes, episode long fight, and you go to the next episode, the whole fucking next episode is the fight. Like
Yeah.
there's one show with Beyond a Shadow of a Doubt, if you're super into graphics and want everything to look super crispy and super epic during fights, watch Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is another really good one to start with. It is only a couple episodes to start. You will quickly learn. I would think you would quickly learn within the first 5 episodes if you are into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it is, honestly, if it's your first one, you may think that the story is really good, but that's just because you are naive.
Which we were. We were, to be transparent, we were. So don't try to talk down like we. Like it
Yeah.
was like the second one we ever watched. We were like, oh
Like-
wow, the story is riveting.
Yeah, and that's because you haven't really gotten into like everything that's out there. But like, oh my god,
I'm not saying
man.
it's bad though.
No, it's not bad at all. I'm not gonna say the story's bad. The story's great, but like when you get out there and you explore a lot of different options, oh my god, it gets so crazy. But this one, I mean, I don't even have any question regarding what is the best sort of like fighting action series out
animated,
there.
or just like visually appealing, it is the best one. in my
Hands
opinion.
down, like it gives me chills how freaking beautiful and crazy and just so intense the fighting gets in that show. Like, oh my god, it is a little cheesy where you get like, you know, they say like freaking fire breathing third form. It sounds like it's like it's a little fucking Yu-Gi-Oh.
Well, no, that's one thing you have to know about anime is they scream or they yell their attack before they attack. Like in a fight, every time, dude,
That's
they will yell what move they're about to do to hit the
you
villain, and they
just
will
gotta-
yell and scream it.
You kind of got to accept that. It's not really something that I particularly love, but it's a thing. So just
I
get
think
used to it.
it really, it really, you know, I don't know. It makes it like explains what's about to happen. Because like if they just did it, you would be like, "What the fuck was that move?" Like he just did a backflip.
you
and
definitely-
sliced him across. Yeah.
As a viewer, you definitely learn what moves they know because they say it
Mhm.
before they do it every fucking time.
Every time.
But I mean, I will say, super cool. Like, oh my god, it's one of those things that just gives me chills every time, regardless how much I see it. It's like they're about to lose a fight. They're on the ground, blacked out. They have this flashback of their past with their dad that died, saying like, "Son, you know that blah 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 blah, right?" And then he has this realization in his mind while he's blacked out on the ground. And then he gets up and he fucking does this move that we've never seen before. And it's fucking badass. And he wins the fight. And like it seems like all odds are pinned against him. And all of the graphics are just so fucking amazing. Like
Gorgeous.
I can't even explain how amazing the fight scenes are in that show.
Well, to give some background, like to give some story knowledge as to what the show's about, basically there's this kid. He's probably, I don't know, he's 17. I don't know. He is lives in a very small town village. Should I go ahead and say. Well, basically, in this world, there's demons that eat humans, but they only come out at night.
Yep.
There's human eating demons that come out at night. If they get touched by sunlight, they burn. That kind of thing. It's almost like a vampire.
That vampire shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you like some Vampire Diaries,
Vampire Diaries.
Little
There's
Teen
not enough.
Wolf. I don't know.
I don't know if there's enough heartthrob in that to cater to the Vampire Diaries motherfuckers.
No,
but.
not at all. But so this the kid has lost.
If you were a dude,
it's the very first episode though. So
if you were a dude that watched Vampire Diaries with your girl and you liked the fight scenes but didn't really mind much about the heartthrob, this is the show for you.
Yes. Okay.
What are you gonna try to have to explain this?
Okay, so I'll just go ahead. It's the very first episode, and it tells you. Yeah, we'll just run it. So this kid, his family dies to demons except for one, and it's his sister who becomes a demon, and his goal is to turn her back into a human. And so
she's fucked. I mean, she has to constantly, every single day, fight the fact that she's a demon. She craves humans. It's really bad, but
can't be in the sunlight.
But it's like he has this younger sister who he cares for so much, and she's a demon, and all she wants to do is eat him. And so he needs to figure out a way to get her to be human, and they end up coping.
Because that's all he has.
That's all he has, because his entire family was murdered by demons.
By a demon.
Damn, that's really dark, isn't it?
Yeah, and it tells you that very first episode.
Yeah. So basically, he goes out to become one of the most badass motherfucking demon hunters or slayers.
Demon slayers.
That the world's ever known, just to eventually, hopefully, find this super kingpin demon and try to find the source or the cure to heal his sister. And that is the premise of the story. And there's just so much fucking fighting, so much blood, so much freaking just stress through all these fight scenes.
Gorgeous, just animation.
But oh my god,
so gorgeous.
Yeah. So
with that being said, we've given you a few. Also, the best anime of all time is One Piece. Whoa! It is. It's dude. I mean, have you seen the TikTok where it was talking about One Piece was the most watched show 2022? Yeah. And the main character was the number 3 character in all the shows. One Piece is over 1,000 episodes long. That's a whole different beast. Kevin and I have been watching it for over a year now.
Consistently.
Just casually. It's not like we're sitting here watching 5 episodes a day.
Well, casually, but also consistently. I don't think we've ever really stopped and started a new one and then got back into it. We've been pretty much grinding this show, ladies and gentlemen, for an entire year.
December of last year.
This has been a crazy journey, and I'm glad you brought this up because this is something that we've kind of bonded through together.
Oh,
it's just grinding together.
Well, just anime in general.
I mean, and I'm not gonna say that we continued watching it because we felt like we had to. This show is one that keeps you entertained and just maybe there's a 10 episode stretch where you need to kind of push through, but other than that, every
the next 150 you're locked in. You have to know what happens next.
Yeah.
I would say anime in general has, if you have somebody to watch anime with, I think you'll enjoy it a lot more because you have those reactions to bounce off of oh my gosh, did you see what happened last episode? This and that. And I feel like that goes with any show. If you have somebody to watch it with, but even if you're watching it solo, it's still so good.
If you have a spouse, a girlfriend, boyfriend, if you have a best friend that is willing to just check out a show with you, I would absolutely recommend it. Clay has been my ride or die anime bro, for an entire over a year now, and
it's we watch them together. It's not we don't. I mean, we branch out a little bit, then we'll be I'll try one out and be like, dude, we gotta hop on this one next, and you've done the same with a few. So it's yeah, it's kind of been like our thing that we've really
And
bonded over the past
it's
few
also
years.
not, it's not one of those things I would say where like we still stay up to date with all of like the trending Netflix shows, and like it's not
Yeah, like
something that like
Kaleidoscope.
it's not something that like takes away from our time with like all the things that are trending. It's just a fun kind of thing to do. Sometimes I'll even treat it as a podcast when I'm at work. Because, I mean, a lot of the times, if you just do a little glance every couple seconds, you really, like, truly can still appreciate the story and, like, appreciate everything. Now, I will say that's kind of specific. I wouldn't watch Demon Slayer at work because there's just too much amazing shit that goes on. But,
Right.
like, I mean, like, it's not something that you need to be, like, totally, like, I need to spend this amount of time completely committed to watching the show. Like it's
Just treat it as any other show, honestly. Like,
can-
watch an
yeah.
episode or two a night. Some nights you may watch 5 because you're really hooked. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, but if you're a super binger, like if you like to binge shows like crazy, you could knock out Demon Slayer in a weekend. You could knock out My Hero Academia in a week
or two. Yeah.
because there's only like 100 episodes and they're 20 minutes. I mean, that's probably a good 10 hours, or whatever the math is. But Demon Slayer you could definitely do in a weekend. Death Note you could do in like a couple days if you really binge hard. Like if you're one of those bingers that watches like The Office in 2 weeks, then I don't know. Then go for it. Just try them out. Just treat it like any other show, honestly.
To end this podcast, we wanted to do this for a long time. We knew. I mean, let's treat a spade as a spade here. We knew that this probably wouldn't be what everybody wanted to hear about, but like at the end of the day, selfish as we are, this is something we wanted to do. And so we finally fucking did it. You know what I mean? And it's great. It's great to do it.
It's a testament to like coming out of the closet as like not like in the sexual way, but like like you said in the beginning of this podcast, you may have an activity or like watch something that you may not be as open. Like I play Magic the Gathering all the time.
Yeah.
It's like that's
I'm
not
a
something
D&D fucking god. Like these are not things you.
It's like
So.
But like if you do portray that, it's like, yeah, I play D&D every Sunday. It's like, well, I envy your confidence to be able to say that, like when introduced, like when you're first meeting somebody. But if it comes up and you're like, oh yeah, I've seen a couple anime, and you're like, then you have something in common with somebody, and that doesn't go just for anime, but any topic. So I think we should be patting ourselves on the back a little bit.
I agree.
Because like I don't think it's not from the outside looking in. Yes, I can totally understand and see how you may think it's weird, but you never know until you try.
Exactly. We finally talked about one of our biggest interests within the past year. And I applaud us for that, because I think that, it's just one of those things that maybe, who cares if no one wants to hear about it? Who cares if people really want to hear about it? I'm just glad that we talked about it.
Yeah, for sure. And I genuinely want to know, whoever's watching still, if you do decide to check one out, which one you do, and if you like it or not. Like we said last episode, we talked about like our little stream podcast where we do it live. I think we should schedule one very soon. Give you all a couple weeks to like check one out, and if you do, pop into the live podcast and tell us about it. Like I would love to hear some of y'all's like first reactions, and if you're enjoying it or not, or like which ones you tried out, and stuff like that. I think that'd be really cool to like connect over.
Yeah, I agree.
But without further ado, I think we're going to pinch it off right here.
Let's go ahead and pinch it off. I actually thought we weren't going to make it the whole podcast talking about this. I don't know what I was thinking. But
we could still go another couple hours if we talked about shows that we've already watched through and through.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just don't think that would be entertaining. I think we did a pretty good job of keeping it engaging and just kind of minimal.
Yeah. Honestly, at the beginning, I thought it was much more harder to explain than I initially thought.
Yeah.
But you really did a great job. So we'll
Dude.
just leave it at that.
Thanks, man. All right, let's pinch it off.
Yeah. Push it out.
We love you guys. Thank you
Absolutely.
for being here. If you're here right now, dude, and you still don't care about anime, but you care about us, what the fuck,
Ooh,
dude?
The realest of real ones.
You guys are
The
nuts.
realest of real ones.
All right,
but
guys. Let's pinch
Dude,
it off.
I love the hentai anime. Have you checked those out? Dude, we're still going.
How do you? What? We're still going?
Oh my gosh.
You know these intros are.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
3, 2, 1, bye.